Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Witch Way 101. So today I'm actually going to be breaking down things a little bit more because I realized that the video that I posted, even though it was very informative, it's a lot to take in. So I decided to break some things down. So a lot of people are just like, well, where the heck am I going to find a black-handled knife that's not a steak knife? Like, what the heck? So it's a representation of air, and that's really what it is. It's an element. It's not going to go ahead and harm you to use something like, say, a feather instead of an anthem. Feathers work brilliantly for that. Birds in flight, representation of air. What more could you ask for? You know, and then other people are like, where am I going to get a wand? Do I have to make it? Does it need to be fancy? Should I just order it off of harrypotter.com? Which, by the way, I really don't know if there is a harrypotter.com. I have no idea. So sorry if there is. No, nothing intended. Speaking of which, I also don't have rights to the music playing in the background. Sorry for not saying that at the beginning of the video. But the thing is that, you know, that wand, it represents fire. Okay. Fire can also be represented by the incense that you're burning. It can also be represented by the flame that is dealing with that candle that you've got lit in the background, you know? So, I mean, it really is something fun that you can actually get creative with. And the chalice. I know people who actually go to the shore to pick up a seashell that is perfect for using for just a little bit of water. I mean, it's not saying that you need a big, huge gallon of water. Just a little tiny amount, small amount. That's all it really is representation of. You know, you can also use a coffee cup if that's all you have. Or if that's all you can afford. You know, the craft is not something that's going to go ahead and say, you need to spend this much money on it, or else you do not get admitted to learning about witchcraft. It's not about that. The thing is that with the craft, you can actually get very creative. You can have a lot of fun with it. There's many different ways to go ahead and do things. So, I mean, it's not just about going ahead and casting spells and doing hocus pocus and going from one spot to another. It doesn't work like that. So let me put that down for the record. Just saying if you didn't already. Excuse me. So, and the reason why I'm breaking all of this stuff down is because I feel that it really needs to be broken down a little bit more. I feel kind of like I glazed over it, and I wasn't intentionally trying to glaze over anything. It's just, I also know that that was a lot in one video. And so, like I said, I would be breaking it down. The altar, you don't really need an altar. Technically, an altar can be a table. So me, I'm actually going to grab it right now because I've got all sorts of stuff laying out from it. So this is my altar bag. Just your average bowling bag. There's all sorts of stuff in there. All sorts of bags. Just, you name it, it's probably in there. And if it's not in there, it's on my bed right now. You know, so that's that. A Book of Shadows, again, it's like a diary, commonly known as a boss. It's a place where you can put all your spells. It's a place where you can write down your progression as a witch. I'm actually very lucky. My sister and I, we put together a Book of Shadows, and not only did we do this on pen and paper, but we also put this in digital form so that we could never lose this copy. So there's some food for thought for some people, you know. We went ahead and did this via Word, and I actually transferred it to Google Docs. So, and you can use Google Docs both online and offline. Anyway, so just thought I'd throw that in there. Oh, and with the altar, what you'll also notice is that a lot of witches carry around little bags of salt. And the reason for this is because salt is used as a purifying agency. Like you cast a circle of salt before you start casting. And it's to go ahead and get rid of all the negative energy and to put you in the mood. You know what I mean? So it's something that's common, if like for me, because I don't have an altar, I don't carry a table in my bag. I carry my bag if I need to. So I go ahead and whenever I'm laying stuff out, I usually sprinkle salt around so that I know that wherever it's at, it's doing just fine. And trust me, I'm already going to have to be vacuuming up my room because there's salt everywhere. Anyways, moving on. So I also talked about candles. So candles, the thing is that when most people, and paganism is one of the oldest faiths and spiritualities out there. Okay, so when most people had first started using candles, candles is also a representation of fire as well, but it's also used to represent the god and the goddess. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those catch-22s. You can also use statues to represent the god and goddess. And I got to get really creative with mine because I'm sorry, I don't have the money to spend $20 on a little tiny figurine like this when I can just as easily go to a store and pick up something for a fraction of the price, you know, at a Goodwill or whatever else, and know that it's going to serve its purpose just as well. And it's actually kind of funny because, so the thing that I have representation as a god, or as the gods in my own altar and stuff, happens to be a little teeny tiny soldier, a knight, which I thought was kind of cool because, you know, your god is supposed to help and be your knight in shining armor, right? But the funny thing about this is that it's actually a pencil sharpener. Figure that one out. Like, I'm still trying to figure that one out. I don't think it's ever been used. I mean, I cleaned it off very thoroughly before I ever went ahead and put it in my bag. I smudged it and all of that before I ever set it on my altar. But yeah, no. So, I mean, you can get very creative with the craft. And it's definitely interesting how creative people can get. So instead of lighting a candle every single time I place my altar, I can place that up instead of having to light a candle, because there might be places where I can't exactly light a candle at, or there might be places where I can't exactly light incense at, but it's okay to light a candle, you know? And it's so, I mean, when I think about it, it's definitely interesting. And then when it came to representing the goddess, this one I had to get really, really, really creative with. And this was gifted to me. So one of my friends, she had been moving and she had a whole bunch of stuff. And of all the things on the planet to get, I got a frog. Because frogs represent a certain goddess in the Egyptian culture and the Egyptian beliefs. And so I thought it was quite interesting to go ahead and have a frog as representation of the goddess. And I mean no disrespect when I represent her this way. I happen to worship them all. I don't have one particular god or goddess that I go for. And you'll meet many witches and pagans along your path that are like that. So that was pretty cool. And then because of the fact that I light up a lot of incense, I also got this right here, which as you can see has incense holders all the way around and a little indentation, usually for cone incense. But the other thing is that it also has a representation of the goddess on it too. So I have two representations of the goddess on my altar when I decide to set it up. So, like I said, it can become a very creative endeavor. Your Book of Shadows doesn't have to be something that's leather bound and old and like made out of parchment or anything else. I won't actually show my Book of Shadows on line. It's just something I personally don't feel is right for me to do. But mine, I ended up picking it up at a local bookstore down here, and it cost me, I want to say it was $11, but it could have even been $21, because the thing about this paper is that it's parchment paper, and the reason why I wanted it that way is because I actually write with a quill. I write with a fountain pen when I write in my Book of Shadows, because I literally, that's the only thing I use this pen for, is writing in my Book of Shadows. That's it. So moving on. Sorry, I think I got a little distracted. Candles. So candles used to never come in all these colors. They used to come in a yellowish, whitish, kind of off-white color. And the reason behind that is because it used to be made out of tallow. And Don't get me wrong, tallow is a great thing to use, but more often than not, we use beeswax cut with other products and ingredients to go ahead and encourage the availability and production of said candles. So it doesn't really matter what the candle is made out of. It can be soy, it can be beeswax, it can be tallow, it can be whatever you desire. The thing is that it really should be consistent with the color if you're trying to go for a certain thing, if you can. Okay, like I said, the color thing is a new thing in paganism. It's not a norm, if you want to call it that. Because like I said, way back in the day when paganism was first taught to followers, it wasn't about the candle color. It was about your intentions behind it. Okay, so that's always a key thing that you need to remember when it comes to candles. If you cannot find a candle color that you can use to represent the candle of your choice, boom, use a white one. White will represent every color, and that is because, well, needless to say, white is the absence of colors, and because it is such an absence of colors, it is able to go ahead and represent all colors. In addition to the fact that, well, as you just heard me say, we used to use white as a fucking freaking, excuse my French, as our candles back in the day, so it's not going to make any difference now. Essential oils, like I said, those are not a necessity. That's just a guideline. I've got lavender oil running around somewhere. God only knows where. So like I said, it's just a generalized thing. For stones, though, I can talk all day about stones. I brought out a few of mine. And the reason why I brought out a few of mine is because stones come in different shapes and sizes. It doesn't mean that you have to have particular stones that are polished and rounded and pretty. And it also doesn't mean that you have to have particular stones that are raw either. Like this stone, for instance, is, I'm sure many of you guys actually can figure out what that is. But yeah, no, that stone, for instance, is raw. This stone was gifted to me, and it's a worry stone. So it's very smooth and polished everywhere, you know. But that's how that one is. Oh, and for you guys who haven't figured out that stone, it's obsidian, by the way. This one right here has been cut, not fully. As you can see, there's some raw in it. It's a quartz crystal, just regular quartz crystal. And like I said, I mean, they're varying in sizes and shapes and colors and designs. And like this one is an amethyst. And as you can see, it still has some of the raw bit from the outside right there. So, I mean, stones come in many different shapes, sizes, colors, aspects, and they're good for different things. Good for different purposes and different reasons. It's just, oh, and this is in here because it is in a bag because it's very sharp. Very, very, very sharp. I don't feel like it cutting other bags, and I don't feel like getting cut when I reach for it. So, kind of got a meticulous habit of putting stuff right back where I get it from. So, anyways, we are going to move on to the incense. So I said to everybody in my last video that you will catch me with a mortar and pestle on my altar when I go ahead and need it. And so I actually have a metal mortar and pestle. This was made in India. And I bought it because I've got a dog, and my roommates, they've got a cat, and she's a very curious cat, and my dog is a very curious dog. So I didn't want to have to worry about this breaking. This is like the third or fourth one I've had to buy since I've started using a mortar and pestle, and that's because the stone ones and the glass ones seem to break way too easily. This one I do have a little bit of issues grinding it down as fine as I want. It takes a little bit of extra time, but I think that time is worth it. This I actually have got sage in here, but as you can see, it's just literally powder. And I put that down and I burn it for my incense for whatever purpose I'm using. I use whatever plants I need, and I just grind them up, and I start with one and slowly go from there, you know, just like anybody else would do with a normal mortar and pestle. And I don't recommend getting anything overly large either as far as the mortar and pestle is concerned if you do decide to make your incense via mortar and pestle. And the reason why is because you're probably going to hold on to this a lot. because you're sitting here grinding, okay? You're literally going in here pulverizing stuff. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a good grip on this, and having something that is just huge and ginormous, unless your hands can actually work with that, I wouldn't recommend doing. All of the other mortar and pestles that I've had were all really tiny, so I've never actually worked with one of the bigger ones. I don't know how productive that would be. If you guys actually know, can you leave a comment down below in the comment box? I would love to find out. So anyways, moving a little bit forward. So like I was saying, incense, like you can grind it up. I currently don't have any incense sticks on me, which is kind of lame of me, I know. I don't have any incense cones on me either, which is even lamer, I know. I should have one of those. But like I said, normally I go ahead and I grind it up in my mortar and pestle, and that's what I use because that works for me. That doesn't always work for everybody else, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and leave this video at this. Sorry for my French in the background. Didn't mean to. So there's a breakdown of everything a little bit more. Hopefully that makes a little more sense. And I will be making a follow-up video about breaking down the I know that I'll be breaking down the color correspondences. And I've also got to break down the moon phases, because there's so much more to the moon than just the phases. And do not forget, please, please, please do not forget the law of return. What you send out will come back to you. So if you send out negative, icky stuff, it's going to come right back to you. If you send out good, yummy, positive vibes and good, yummy, positive stuffs, it's going to come right back to you, okay? 9 times out of 10, it comes back threefold, if not harder, okay? So please keep this in mind before any crafting, any sort of spell work, anything like that. I really... excuse me, I really don't think that anybody wants to deal with those kind of repercussions. They can be bad. Anyway, so like I said, I'm going to leave it at that. My name is Jessie. Thank you for watching my channel, Which Way. Share this share this video with your friends. Share it with your family. We can tell I'm a little tongue-tied. This is the second video I've done today. I've been very tired. But, I will talk to you guys later. I hope that you all have a great day, and blessed be.